The Wretched of the Earth is Fanon's manifesto on decolonization. In the first section, Fanon argues that the answer to the problems of decolonization can only be realized through violent insurrection of the masses. He recognizes colonial society as Manichaean. Manichaean concept of dualism looks at things as having two opposing sides: the good against the bad, the white against the dark, the rich against the poor, the colonizer against the colonized. Decolonization will eliminate this devilish dichotomy. Violence is the language of colonialist society. As Fanon writes, colonialism is not a machine capable of thinking or a body endowed with reason. It is naked violence and only gives in when confronted with greater violence. Violence serves a double purpose. It destroys the colonial system and serves a psychological purpose for the colonized. The colonized can reaffirm their humanity only through violent action against the powers that dehumanize them. Fanon also criticizes the national bourgeoisie that aims to drain the peasant masses and natural resources like the colonizers. It is important to politicize the masses that are better for the nation. The new nation needs discussion of opinions and rational deliberation to move towards democracy. In the next section, Fanon discusses how a national culture can form after independence. Colonialism destroys indigenous culture. What can the colonized do to reaffirm or form a national culture? National culture is the collective thought process of a people who describe, justify, and extol the actions whereby they have joined forces and remain strong. In his discussion on colonized intellectual, Fanon identifies three stages. In the first stage, the intellectual mimics the colonizer and imitates colonial tastes. In the second stage, the colonized reacts against the colonizer to consider the indigenous culture as superior. In this third stage, the love for their culture moves to a struggle for liberation. The intellectual begins to write revolutionary literature. Fanon concludes the chapter by arguing that culture derives from national consciousness and there is no culture that is not national. In the final chapter, Fanon turns to the psychology of colonialism, the kinds of psychological disorder colonialism produces. He explains the psychological disturbances the colonized can experience and its influence on the colonizer. Colonialism constantly denies that the colonized are human and hence effect dehumanization. The many disorders experienced by the colonized makes a case for decolonization not just as liberation of a nation but also the liberation of individual psyches, a cure for pathology.